Hey guys, for today's video, we're going to be working on embracing her gray. So this is about 3 sessions in, and we're finally to a place where she blends completely with her gray. So keep watching to see how we tackled this service. You can follow me on Instagram at Christy@thecottage. Here's my clients before. You can see how much yellow she has in her hair that we're still trying to break through.
Hey guys, so first of all, I chopped my hair. My long hair just drives me crazy half the time. All I do is wear it up in a ponytail. We all know this, so I just decided to chop it off because whatever. Anyways, so my client that I'm doing right now, which I honestly don't know if I'm going to even edit this video, but I feel like it's kind of a good one for just like a learning example as far as clients that want to go gray or embrace their gray. So my client that I'm doing normally was very red, and she wanted to transition into her gray because she didn't like the upkeep, and it was really hard at first for her because, you know, you'll see we're bleaching her hair and she's still very warm here and very, you know, cool with the gray in this area. And so she said she wanted to just like slowly transition into it, not do the full thing. Cause I told her, you know, that's like an 8-hour service. It's very long to like completely, you know, do a color mover, bleach out the hair, tone it, go back through and add those darker pieces. And she said, no, I just want to slowly work my way into it. Well, and I've talked about this before in another video, but when we ended up doing that, she was kind of panicking about how warm it was versus how cool it was. And so we're still kind of like in that transitional area. So we're still trying to blend her roots in with her hair, and you'll see how warm it is. So today we're just gonna still work on doing some baby lights in her natural hair, and then I don't think we're gonna go through and bleach through her ends at all because they're kind of, I feel like last time we did her hair, it felt kind of weak. So we're still going to try and tone her hair to cool it and to be more of like a blonde versus so much of a warm blonde. So that's what we're going to do today. And I've been sick the last few days, and so I feel like I'm kind of foggy. So if I feel like I'm not making any sense, because I feel like I'm not making any sense, because I don't have a clear train of thought, that's why. So, okay.
And I'm just going to be using Schwarzkopf Blonde Me with 20 volume and Olaplex. To start the service, my client wants to embrace her gray, but because she's young, she doesn't necessarily want to feel like she is gray. So our goal is to go through and do some very fine baby lights that will blend with her gray and brighten her up to feel more blonde. But as her hair grows out, it's just going to be really soft and subtle because they are baby lights. So hopefully that will help her feel more as if she's a soft blonde versus just feeling like she's gray all over. So to start her service, we're going to go through and do her hairline and give her some really soft, subtle highlights to frame her face and brighten her up nicely. And we're just doing a partial foil, so we're just gonna do 3 foils on the hairline on either side. And for her money piece around here, she doesn't necessarily want to be super bright blonde and have this really heavy blonde streak in the front. So we're just going to weave this section and have it blend nicely with the rest of her hair, but not necessarily be like a huge strappy piece of blonde. So we're just going to do the same here and do a few weaves back to back just to brighten her up and blend in with her gray. I'm not very big on running lightener through the ends, but because she has so much warmth in her hair still, and there are some areas that's more orange versus just yellow, so I am going to run the bleach through her ends just in some areas, not all over. But if I do see any spots that are already pretty light through the ends or yellow through the ends, then I'm going to pull those pieces aside. But for the most part, you can see how warm she is. So there are some areas where I do have to bring the bleach through the ends just to try to brighten it up a little bit more and to knock out some of that extra orange color. And we're just doing a partial foil, so I'm just going to start on the side of the head, and we are going to do some really fine baby lights, and we're just going to do a really soft weave, again, just running it through the ends where it's a little bit too brassy, and then just follow this pattern all the way up the side of the head. And this is it. You can see that for this service, for such a big transformation, it took really minimal work and not a heavy amount of foils, and we didn't have to bleach through the ends either.
Okay, so my client is at the shampoo bowl right now, and we just did her partial foil because her roots get so blonde and her ends are more warm. I'm just gonna let the purple shampoo tone her root area, and then I'm going to actually make a toner to tone the ends of her hair. If I use a toner like a cool tone, then it's gonna make her highlights go very like cool and ashy, and then it's gonna blend too much with her gray. So we're just gonna use a purple shampoo to make sure that her highlights like cool down, but to, you know, to eliminate any yellow tones, and just to brighten them up as a purple shampoo does. Sorry. And then for her ends, because they are so brassy, that's what we're gonna use to tone her hair. And I'm gonna use 10 PA 9V, and we're gonna use that just on her ends to neutralize the warmth.
And I'm just going to do half and half for this formulation. You can see here that I just have the purple shampoo sitting on the roots, and then the toner is through the ends, and I let this sit for about 10 minutes. Again, I hate indoor lighting because it makes the hair look so much more yellow than what it actually is. But look at how much more blended this looks. She still has a little bit of warmth in the top area of her roots, but it still blends so much nicer. Here's her before. You can see just how brassy it is, and look at this after. This is in natural lighting outside. Look at how much brighter it is and how cool it is. Everything just blends so nicely. Her gray looks like a really soft, cool blonde, and then toning through the ends as we did, I feel like is the trick that we needed. And I'm so happy with how this turned out. She was ecstatic. It looks beautiful. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Hey guys, so I just finished my client, and her hair actually turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to, or not necessarily better than what I thought it was going to, but it toned a lot better than what it has previously. So now that I can try and think about the process a little bit better, just because there was definitely a point in the service where I didn't know if I was going to be able to finish it, just because I was feeling very lightheaded, and there's like a cold going around our area where people feel like they're like, a few people have fainted and like thrown up. And on a few days ago, I was in the middle of a bleach and tone, and I was applying the bleach, and I literally felt like I was gonna faint, and I got sick. And so I ended up having to cancel the rest of my day. I had to still finish that one service, but anyways, I'm back to work now, and I feel like I'm okay, but I haven't really had anything to eat, so I'm still kind of in that foggy mind frame. Anyway, so that's why I feel like I'm not having a very clear train of thought still because of that. So I just kind of wanted to go over this a little bit more. So when we had first originally started doing her hair, she probably only had like that much grow out, and her hair was very red and her roots were very gray. And I kind of just want to go over this if you've made it through the whole video and if you even care about listening to me talk. And I know I talked about being sick, and I feel like I'm going to lose viewers because people don't care about that stuff or don't want to hear me talk about that. But I just wanted to explain why I feel like I am kind of not clear with my thoughts right now. So I apologize for that. But a lot of times when clients want to go gray, I know you guys have seen those posts by Jack Martin hairstylist. If you haven't, go check out his work. He does beautiful work, amazing transitions for people that have box color and maybe their hair is really black color or whatever, but they have white gray hair or whatever their gray color is, and he can make these transitions they're beautiful. And it's like you would never even know that they ever had any color on their hair before. These after videos or pictures that he does, their hair is amazing. And so I feel like clients are starting to come in with these pictures and they're like, oh, I want to stop growing my hair out, or I want to have my gray hair naturally now. And it's like people don't really understand that service takes about 8 to 12 hours to really accomplish that perfectly in such great detail and such great work that he's doing. And I've done a few of those services before. If you follow me on Instagram, I've posted them. I mean, it's been a while, but those services are 8 to 12 hours long, and they cost like $600 to $800. And people generally aren't willing to pay that much for their hair. So like my client that I just did, when I explained that to her, she was like, oh no, I don't want to do the full thing. I just want to ease my way into it. Well, what happened when you do that, when we did that, was it leaves such a harsh transition of color where, especially if somebody's coming in with having previously very red hair and they have just gray hair in general, it's like their natural color is so ashy and so cool versus having a very warm color. It's just so offsetting that it's kind of hard to get used to seeing. If they're not doing it all at once, it's very hard to get used to seeing the very ashy and very warm tones. And so I think the very first time, the client that I just did today, I explained it to her, but I just don't think I explained it to her in enough detail because I wasn't aware. I mean, if a client knows that they're not going to really dive into it and get the whole thing done today, clearly they know they're still going to have that warmth in their hair. And it's going to be very present in what their after color looks like, right? Because we're only going to do maybe a little bit of a heavy foil or something, or a partial foil, but they're still going to have a lot of that warmth through the ends that is still existing. And, if you're lifting through color, then that blonde is going to be yellow. It's not necessarily going to be a really pretty white blonde. Chances are, if you're lifting through color, it might take a few times. That blonde is going to be very yellow, and you might not be able to tone it out as much as you're thinking you will. Or maybe you have to do a darker toner, like level 8 or 9, not necessarily blonde. So then it's you're toning. This is what happened with her when we did her hair. We toned her down to maybe a level 8 because it was so yellow where we did the highlights. It was like fluorescent. I mean, it was yellow. And I wanted to cool down the yellow tones in her hair, so I had to formulate a level 8. So I just put it all over her head. Well, where that warmth is, it's not going to do anything, but it neutralized, it cooled it down right in here to be more of it didn't go too dark. It just kind of neutralized the yellow in here. And so it was kind of like a cool blonde, But up here, because this is virgin and it lifted to like a white, this really toned down to match her roots almost perfectly. So she didn't see any variation in her hair right here. All she saw was like all gray, still even with the highlights, because it toned down because we used an ash 8 level, that it like toned down here to be like a darker, you know, ash color that perfectly blended with her roots so you couldn't see the highlights. And then when we got down here, it neutralized the warmth. So it's like here she saw the highlights, so it almost made it to where she had her natural and the highlights in here, but it was still so like warm and gray that she started kind of panicking about it. And I know you guys know I ramble on a lot, okay, but I feel like it's good to talk about because I want you guys to know if you have this encounter with a client that wants to start embracing their gray or working towards going gray, that you know to have the conversation with them. Like, if you're not wanting to book out a full day at like $75 an hour or $100 an hour, because essentially this is a color correction, make sure your clients know that you're going to be leaving with your gray roots and a lot of this warm tone still in this area. Please, like, express that to them as much as you can. Like, this is going to be so warm here, or whatever color that you have that's still, you know, existing. Let them know that this is going to be really heavy in this area still. And are they going to be okay with that? Are they going to be okay with the fact that they still have all of their roots and this is still going to be whatever the existing color is? Because when she first started, her attitude was very much like, oh yeah, no, it's going to be okay. But then I feel like when your clients actually see it, it's kind of like, holy shit, like there's such a tonal difference that they might not be okay with it. And that's kind of what happened. Was we went through the very, very first time. We went through, did the highlights, toned it and everything. And it's like what we talked about, what was going to happen, happened. And she was almost, I'm not kidding you guys, she started crying. She started crying because it was so off. And I don't know what she expected in her head, but she was so unhappy with how warm this still was compared to how cool the rest of her hair was, that she was just so unhappy. So I told her, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, like, what are you supposed to do as a hairstylist when you have a client that's literally crying in your chair because they're not happy? You yourself don't feel confident about them leaving the salon. I mean, she was my last client, so I was able to do more services on her. But I just told her, I'm like, okay, well, maybe we can go through and, you know, balayage and paint through some of the ends of her hair to try to brighten them up a little bit. Or I don't know, like I was just trying to figure out whatever I could do. So we ended up going through balayage and painting through her hair, trying to lift it up a little bit more, try to remove some of that warmth in her hair. But again, we're just lightening through the red tone, so it's still going to be yellow. It's not like it's ever going to be a white blonde. So that, I think, was just really hard to adjust to. But now we're on the second or third service is what we did today. Just let your clients know this is going to be something that takes time. It might take 2 or 3 times until you're really comfortable with how your hair turns out. And please, 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 please talk to them before you even start the service to make sure this is all cleared up and out in the open. Because what happened to me is because I was not so definite in our conversation where she was just like, oh no, let's just do a little bit at a time. And I was like, okay, sure. So we're going to do your highlights and we're going to try to start blending it. That's about the most of the extent that we talked about. Like, we talked about blending. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking she knows like all this warmth is still going to be existing. But But I think actually seeing it is when she started panicking. And so I just didn't think about that. And so make sure that you express that to your clients, because at the end of the service, I didn't feel comfortable charging her for the service that we did. I think I only ended up charging her for like a partial foil, when what I should have charged her for was a partial foil, a balayage, 2 toners, because we ended up toning it again. We ended up doing like all these multiple hours worth of work that we weren't expecting to do. So just have that conversation with your clients. Don't end up like what I ended up, because even if you have that conversation, at least your clients know, like, okay, it's not going to be perfect today, but we're going to get there eventually. So this is what I'm paying for right now. And, you know, I just don't want you guys to be in the position where I am at, where you don't explain something to somebody and then you feel like you can't charge them for everything because they're not happy with it. But they're not going to be happy with it because it's not the full thing. And, you know, they knew that going into it, that they didn't want to pay for the whole thing. They didn't want to pay for the full service. But then when they see it, because they weren't doing the full service, they're not happy with it. But now you feel bad they're not happy with it. So you go in and do more. But now you're almost doing the full service in the first place, but they don't want to pay for it. So it's just this like cycle that you don't want to get into, that I got into. Make sure you explain it to your clients. And anyways, today the service turned out so much better. I think just toning the roots with the purple shampoo and then going through with the actual toner through like this area of her hair, I feel like that worked out so much better. Just toning with the purple shampoo, it kept this nice and bright up in this area, but it left a little bit of the warmth still just slightly exposed in the highlights, to where it helped blend a lot better through her ends. So I think that was a big thing that we did today, and I was really happy to come to that like realization that maybe don't tone the roots with the actual toner, just purple shampoo it to cool it down, and actually just tone through the ends. So I hope this helps you guys. If you're still following along, I appreciate you guys. And if you guys ever tackle this service, let me know. Leave a comment in the section below, because I would love to hear how you guys handled it. It's such a tricky service to do. It's so expensive if somebody really wants to take it and just knock it out in one session. But it can be really tricky if you're doing it in steps, because they're not going to be happy the first time if it's not the full look. You know, their chances are going to be kind of like, I see yellow. Yeah, you do, because we're not getting rid of it all. You don't want to pay to get rid of it all today, so that's why you still see yellow. But anyways, we're like at 15 minutes and, 25 seconds of me just talking. So anyway, I just wanted to go over that stuff because I feel like my mind is kind of clearer right now. So earlier in the service it wasn't. But I hope you guys are doing well, and the holidays are coming up. So I hope you guys have a great start to the holiday season. And I will see you next time. Bye.